The Magic season's over. Magic season has been over for a week. And now we're trying to figure out how the Magic take the next steps. And obviously, there's a lot that goes into that. But the Magic know that there is a big task ahead of them. It's time to level up. We'll talk about what those changes mean and a whole lot more as we continue our season recap here on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is April 19th, 2022. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow us on Twitter, or follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to talk about how the Magic plan to level up this offseason, why there is a different feeling about the way the Magic are entering the offseason despite their schedule, and why expectations are undoubtedly about to change for the team. We'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. But before we do that, we want to thank you all for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Make sure you, we truly appreciate you listening to us, whatever you do, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, no matter when, we truly appreciate. You can find us wherever you download podcasts. Just search for Locked On Magic. And for the rest of the Locked On Podcast Network, search for Locked On and the team you're looking for. Last Sunday, obviously, the Orlando Magic defeated the Miami Heat in their final game of the season. And the Magic, had made all their players available after the game for their traditional kind of postseason exit interviews. And there was a lot of general themes that came across in that post game press conference. The big one is how much this team believes in what they're doing and how much they believe in the talent that they have. And that's obviously what you expect to hear from this group. They understood that this was a rebuilding season. They understood this was a learning season. And they have confidence that they're about the right things and about making the next step and taking those next critical steps for the franchise. Obviously, though, there's a lot of work to get there. No one's hiding from that work. No one was hiding from that work. But Jamal Mosley, I think, really distilled the key parts of this offseason succinctly in his post-game presser. I mean, he essentially said that, we had this season, we had this moment to grow, to play, to enjoy each other and enjoy the work together. But now we have to level up. Now we have to take that next step. This is Mosley's quote directly. Quote, "The one thing that we've talked about with these guys is the foundation is set when we talk about competing, getting better every day, having fun while doing it. Now it goes into the little things, the tiniest of details that they have to understand, that when we hold their feet to the fire, that they understand that night in and night out. The Magic have to level up. They have to be better in every facet. They have to be more focused. They have to be more determined and more together than they were this past year. And they were pretty good on a lot of those things, but never for the full 48 minutes, never for a full length of a game, or not consistently enough, obviously." Jeff Weltman in his interview that he did with Mike Bianchi of Open Mic on 96.9 The Game last week, said we're not going to put a win total on next year. We're not going to put the playoff expectations on next season. And I think that's perfectly fair. But it's very clear there's also an expectation that this team take a step forward. I will sit here and say, without looking at next year's roster, without knowing what the Magic's draft lottery position is going to be, that the goal for the Magic next year is not to be in this spot next year. They don't necessarily have to make the playoffs, in my opinion, but we shouldn't be talking about them as one of the worst teams in the league. We shouldn't be talking about them as playing for lottery balls at the end of the season or playing for the top pick in the draft. That time is done. Say what you want about the guys that the Magic did get. Say what you want about the lottery luck the Magic did get. But the Magic have enough talent to proceed and advance and get better. And if that talent isn't getting better, if those young players on this roster are not getting better, then something's wrong. this team isn't making the steps it needs to make, whether it's coaching, whether it's management, whether it's development. Something is wrong. And that's the key to everything right now, is taking steps forward. And so with the roster that we have now and with the players that are Magic players for the moment, the question is, how do they get better? How do they take their steps forward? How do they help this team proceed? And that's what it's meant by leveling up. There's no doubt there are a lot of good vibes about this team right now. It's part of what's charming about this young group. They really seem to like and enjoy each other. Jalen Suggs said, I never thought I'd experience what I experienced at Gonzaga in the NBA. He feels like this is a brotherhood, that these are a bunch of guys that want to work hard and play together and just enjoy playing together. That's the big thing. They enjoy playing together. That's all good. That's not a bad thing. It's going to help guys push each other. A lot of players say that's going to help them hold each other accountable, which is such a big part of this, that they'll be able to talk honest with each other because there's a respect that everyone knows that it's coming from a place of, we're all trying to get better together. We're all trying to do this together. But of course, none of that guarantees that the Magic are going to be successful in this project. The Magic are going to take those next steps. And so as everyone goes their separate ways, the challenge is an individual challenge as much as it is a team challenge. It'll be Jamal Mosley's job in Summer League in July, but more importantly in training camp in September, to bring everyone together, to get everyone back on the same page and to advance as a team. But right now, it's everyone's job individually to get better, to be better, to understand what just occurred in the NBA season, where they were short, where they came up short mentally as well as physically, to get going. For now, this is a challenge that everyone is welcoming. It's, again, not just that they all believe what they're able to accomplish and the talent on this team. It's not just that. It's what they believe they've seen from each other. It's what they believe they've seen from the talent that they have on the floor. And again, I don't think we can argue that this team's not talented. They may be lacking maybe that guiding, defining star. They may be lacking the guy that ties it all together and makes it all make sense. That's possibly true. But beyond that, they have guys who can play. Markelle Fultz is extremely talented. Franz Wagner is extremely talented. Jalen Suggs is extremely talented. Wendell Carter is extremely talented. They have guys that can be winning players. And Mosley would tell you that all of these guys are winners. But now it's about getting in the gym and doing the work. We'll talk about some of that work that the Magic have to do and how they're ready to take on those challenges, those mental challenges especially, coming up here in just a moment. But first, a quick word from our pals at PrizePicks. All right, the NBA playoffs have started. Are you looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA? Then you need to try the award-winning app PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I love this game, and we know you will too. It's easy to use, and it's easy to play. You just pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. And it's just you versus the projected numbers. You're not playing against large groups of people, often professionals, and struggling to make your money back. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's really that easy. PrizePicks offers a variety of options. You can pick off props that you think from any prop that you can think of, from points scored to rebounds, even steals. PrizePicks even allows mixed sports entries, so you can hit Major League Baseball odds or NHL picks, as well as your NBA picks this spring. For a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive offer. No-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point, but you must use code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans. Sign up today and use code NBA for $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point. This is a really fun game. If you're into the daily fantasy thing, definitely try this out. It is a lot of fun to play. That's PrizePicks. Use promo code NBA for $50 for free if your team scores a single point. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the MLB season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more from the trends and action. Bet online, where the game starts. Obviously, a big piece of this story for the Magic is going to be internal growth. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. We talked about how close the Magic actually might be to the play-in tournament. It really starts with internal development. Essentially, what all the best teams in the league have, all the teams that make this step up, they collect young players. Their young players develop into solid players, and then they add the free agents that help them get over the hump, or they add the players and trades, the veteran players and trades that help them get over the hump. The reason why the Magic kind of petered out in 2019, 2020 is, the young players weren't so young anymore. They were veteran players. They were costly. They, their contracts were running out, and everyone was spinning their wheels. They wanted to obviously be on teams that are competing beyond the first round of the playoffs, or to just do something new, because obviously teams have an expiration date. Just look at the Utah Jazz right now. It's right now the main focus for the team, and the reason why I don't think there's going to be a lot of free agent movement for this team is about internal development. Let's see what these guys can do to get better. Let's see what these guys can become and how quickly they can get to that kind of next level, that next tier. Obviously, there's a lot of work to do, and we're going to talk more about what these guys have to do and these guys' seasons as we get into player evaluations here over the course of the week. But it starts with improving their bodies. Cole Anthony and Franz Wagner both said that they really need to work on improving their strength and getting stronger and getting in better shape, which is hard to believe because they're both in really good shape. But just young players understanding the pounding of an 82-game season. Franz Wagner was fantastic all year, but there are a lot of areas that he needs to improve skill-wise. But getting stronger is going to make him better in those areas too. You think of how Wagner's shooting at the rim was not as good as you think it was. It was really kind of below average. A lot of that is just strength, just being able to physically get to the basket and absorb the contact and the bumps that come from trying to finish at the rim. Again, you could talk about the skills needed, but I think Cole Anthony had the worst field goal percentage at the rim of any guard that played 200 minutes or something, or, played a certain amount of minutes or something like that. Cole Anthony, because he's a small guard, he really has to be strong. He has to be able to take the bumps and the pressure that's going to come his way. He really sometimes struggled dribbling under pressure and under the physicality and physical defenses like Miami and Boston. Being able to absorb that contact is critical to these guys' success. And you could say the same for Jalen Suggs. One of the things that makes Markelle Fultz so intriguing and so successful is how he is able to take contact. But it's not just the physical focus that this team needs. It's also the mental focus. It's also the ability to focus in and be able to get through an 82-game season, but also a 48-minute game. The Magic have a lot of guys who know that there are little things they have to get better at. Keeping focus at the end of quarters, just kind of keeping a mental sharpness that not every team, especially young teams, struggle to handle, struggle to deal with. You think about the Magic, they had some big picture concepts down. Their defensive consistency in the second half of the season was a whole lot better. We talked a little bit about those numbers yesterday. They were playing their best basketball toward the end of the season before they kind of packed it in for the season. But building on that is still a huge, huge, huge thing. It's still a big deal to get better and to improve in those areas, to kind of add those strengths. And everyone on the team recognized that. Jalen Suggs said after Sunday's finale, quote, "I think the next step is starting to focus on the little things. I think you did a great job taking care of taking that culture shift and really running with it and getting guys to buy in. The coaching staff did a great job preaching it and harping on it. We really listened. I think we got the big picture down. We've got the main thing of coming in every day, working and getting better, and keeping a good mindset and sticking with each other," end quote. Again, no one would doubt that this team has good vibes. No one would doubt that this team loves to play together, that they love playing with each other, that they love working hard together. No one doubts that this team's going to work hard. Everyone on this team is a worker. I think that's a key thing that Jeff Weltman looks for more than anything else is the guy going to work? Is the guy satisfied with where he's at, or is he going to get better? Again, who knows what the Magic would have done if they picked higher. Jalen Suggs was their kind of guy. He's a hard worker, a guy that wants to get after it. Took this season hard, that knows how much better he has to get and how much more composed he has to get. That's something this team is looking for. That's something this team wants. And again, they've welcomed this challenge, it feels like, to get better, to improve every game. So again, the vibes are good. Everyone seems to like each other. Everyone seems to be on the same page on that front. The question is, how do you advance that? How do you get better? How do you take that next step? Because the one thing this team also knows is potential is just potential. Something that Cole Anthony and Franz Wagner said, probably because they were in the same press conference, and one of them said it and the other one repeated it to agree. Potential is just potential. And the key now to leveling up is realizing that potential and putting it to good use. And we'll talk a little bit about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for more than 20 years. Their prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you can need to, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. So obviously, what comes next then? How do you turn potential energy into kinetic energy? How do you turn potential into reality? Again, that's the task. That's the challenge this offseason for this team. That's how a team figures out how to get better, how to level up, as I put it this whole podcast, how Jamal Mosley seemed to put it. Again, the place that it starts with is investment. And I think that's been the big takeaway from the season so far. These guys are invested in each other, invested in the team. They are invested in what this team is trying to do and what this team is trying to accomplish. To hear Mo Bamba after the season ended say, and we'll talk more about this in the coming weeks, to hear Mo Bamba say, I want to re-sign here. To hear him really talk in his post-game pressers and his walk-off interviews about what we are building. Entering a free agent year where it's not clear that he's going to be back with the team, that shows a level of investment. And I think you can hear it throughout the team how much this team wants this to be good and wants this to work and knows that they have the potential to make it work. So how does that happen? That is the big question. That is the uncertainty. It's going to start with accountability. And that's the big piece. Can guys take hard truths about each other, from each other, to be in the right spots? How do they take that criticism and build on it or improve on it? They know how good they can be. They know they have the talent to be a potentially special group, to take another step forward. But it's going to take them doing the right things over and over and over again. Winning is a grind. There's a lot of exciting moments. There's a lot of good moments that come with it. But I say this about the regular season all the time. The regular season is about what can you count on every single night on your worst night. When you're struggling to win, I think back to the 2009 and 2010 teams. What impressed me about those teams always was how they did need their best stuff to win. And a lot of that's talent level, sure. But it's a certainty and a confidence of how you're playing and what you're doing. An understanding of if you're not doing the right things, that they will bring in someone who can do the right things. Or the team will hold themselves accountable to do the right things. This Magic team this year was learning the right things. They were figuring out how to be that team, how to do those things every single day. It was about that foundation. And there were times where they did the right things. There were times where they weren't. And so now it's about decreasing those times that they're not. It's about doing it more consistently. And when you're not doing it, the team needs to police itself. The coach can say, hey, we're making this adjustment, but doing the basic principles, doing the basic things, those basic things that the team says they think they've got down. It's about doing that over and over and over again, making it boring, making it so mundane that it's second nature. And as a team, that's what September, that's what training camp is going to be about, is putting that to work and understanding that that is what this team is. Until then, it's about doing the work themselves. It's about Jalen Suggs getting a tighter handle. It's about Cole Anthony being better finishing at the rim. It's about Franz Wagner becoming a little bit of a mid-range jump shooter. It's about Wendell Carter becoming a better three-point shooter. Mo Bamba continuing to add strength. It's about all those things. And yes, it is also about Jeff Wiltman adding in the right talent to supplement this roster, to add to that culture, to add to what they're doing on the floor. It's about all of that. Leveling up is everything for this team. Improving the talent, internal development, adding the right veterans, adding the right players to supplement what they feel like they're building. It's not going to be easy. It's a long way up the hill. There's a lot of teams trying to keep you down too. It's going to take some luck. It's going to take a lot of hard work. And the good news is, the thing I think we know about this Magic team is they are ready and they're willing to do the work. Leveling up is not going to be easy, and we don't know what it's going to look like, but this Magic team knows next year is different. Next year, losses aren't going to be excused as learning experiences. Next year, the team's going to be expected to take a little bit of a step forward. Results may not be everything, but they're going to matter a whole lot more. No one's going to accept blowouts, and it's going to take the leaders on this team, your Wendell Carters, your Cole Anthonys, Gary Harris if he's still around, Terrence Ross. It's going to take those key guys making sure everyone understands the standard and making sure everyone lives up to that. It's a long way to go till September. We'll have plenty to talk about before then, but the Magic are ready and eager to take on that work to get better. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find us on Twitter at Locked On Magic. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places to download podcasts to your podcast enabled listening device. You can find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. And of course, for the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. Now that you're done listening to us, be sure to check out the Locked On NBA podcast. From the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals, Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Check out the Locked On NBA podcast, as well as the Locked On Now podcast for recaps from all the site experts every day as the NBA playoffs continue on. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. For Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.